with an update on Vince McMahon and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on and don't forget to like the video. Talking about storytelling in pro wrestling, as she is set to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 40, Becky Lynch had this to say on Superstar Crossover. The actual craft is number 2. Number 1 is storytelling, because ain't nobody going to care what you do in the ring if you have not told a good story. There is a line that says, a promo is a match and a match is a promo. You can tell a story during the match, but to know what the story you're telling in the match comes before the craft, before the nitty gritty, before you get down to that. That's number 1, and then the craft of the actual wrestling. Understanding it, understanding what's going to elicit a response, what's going to be easy for the audience to follow too, because you don't want to be doing all this technical stuff and everybody's going, wait, what's happening? We do this for an audience. We don't do this for us. We do it for them. If they're not following it and we're doing it because we think it's interesting and it's cool, then ain't nobody going to care. Noting how Seth Rollins felt regarding CM Punk's return at Survivor Series last year, Becky Lynch told the MMA Hour he felt disrespected, but like I said, we think of ourselves, right? We are the universe, right? Everybody, we are the universe, but nobody's going, I want to disrespect him. So we may feel disrespected, but nobody's intentionally going, let me disrespect this person. You know what I'm saying? So of course, that should have been taken into account. You should have told your top stars, of course. But like I said, nobody's going out there going, how do I disrespect my top star, my world champion? How do I disrespect him? Nobody's thinking that. Speaking about who he would have liked to have ended his WrestleMania winning streak, The Undertaker said on his 6 Feet Under podcast, the most logical person to break it would have been Bray Wyatt. Probably of the three, it would have meant more to his career than even Roman's. For Roman, it would have been very special, but for Bray, there were so many comparisons between the two characters and the darkness and the different things. For him to be able to have broke it would have been such a feather in his cap, and is something that could have extended the character of The Undertaker in a different capacity. You know, I mean, Bray would have been the in-ring aspect of it, but I think that those characters would have somehow maybe merged together in some kind of higher power type deal. But I think of all the people that it would have helped the most, I think Bray would have been the guy. He's the only one. With him having suffered a biceps injury and undergoing surgery, SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis gave an update on his health, telling the Gabby AF podcast, before this one, I've only had one major surgery my whole career, and it was the other bicep, so it was just a freak thing. Dr. LeClaire at Vanderbilt here in Nashville did a phenomenal job. He works with the Nashville Predators and all sorts of high-profile athletes. He did a great job. I feel great. I'm in a stupid splint cast thing for a little bit longer, and then hopefully I'll transition to a brace, kind of like the one that we're seeing Punk wearing. I'll be switching into one of those hopefully in time for WrestleMania. Going over the segment from Monday Night Raw where CM Punk alluded to Vince McMahon during his promo battle with Drew McIntyre, Ringside News wrote that discussing the segment on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer highlighted concerns among some that allowing the three men to speak unscripted, especially when McMahon's name was mentioned, might not have been wise due to an alleged ban on mentioning McMahon's name on WWE television. Meltzer shared it was not scripted word for word, which most things on that show are. They let the guys have free reign. There was one moment where there were a lot of people thinking this might not be a good idea. It was the Vince McMahon reference. He further explained, one of the things is that Vince McMahon's name is not allowed to be mentioned on the TV, but McIntyre changed focus and never mentioned the name and they got out of it. They went a little long, but there was no negativity from it. Meltzer also mentioned Insider Insight saying, One person told me that Levesque knew they were probably going to go long, so the matches that didn't have the entrances before the show they already planned, that was going to be the case. So it wasn't that they came up with that to save time. Recalling his tearing up of an AEW contract, Jack Perry said this in a New Japan Pro Wrestling interview. Ripping that contract was a declaration. I'm not playing by your rules anymore. If AEW are too afraid to have me anymore, if the specter of Jack Perry is too much, they don't want to deal with the conversations, the ramifications that brings, then that's fine. Giving an update on his AEW contract status as his deal with the company is set to expire this month. Matt Hardy noted on his Extreme Life podcast, "There is a little news to go along with my contract negotiations. I have an AEW contract sitting in front of me for a few years, and I'm looking through it. I'm deciding what I want to do going forward. There's obviously still some options. I got to make sure that I'm aware of the ins and outs of the contract, and I want to make sure everything is up to par as far as what I want it to be, because once again, I know that I only have a couple more years left of doing this, and I want to make the most out of those years, whatever it may be. I want to be optimized in whatever I am doing, so that's very important to me. So I'm very happy to be invited to return to AEW and work for AEW for the foreseeable future. But we shall see, because right now I'm weighing the options. There's a couple things out there, and I would say in the next month, I should probably know what my immediate future is going to hold." As Vince McMahon has been ousted from WWE and TKO following a lawsuit against him and the company over sex trafficking, he has now sold more of his stock in TKO, with PW Insider reporting that TKO Group released a new SEC filing today revealing that Vince McMahon has sold another 3,484,006 shares of TKO stock. The filing notes, on March 24th, 2024, the reporting person entered into a variable prepaid forward sale agreement, the agreement with an unaffiliated bank, the bank relating to 3,484,006 shares of the issuer's Class A common stock, and obligating the reporting person to deliver to the bank up to 3,484,006 shares of the issuer's Class A common stock, or at the reporting person's election under certain circumstances, an equivalent amount of cash to settle the agreement. On March 1st, 2024, the reporting person and the bank amended the agreement to provide that the agreement would be fully settled by the reporting person's delivery of 3,484,006 shares of the issuer's Class A common stock to the bank. The physical settlement contemplated by the agreement were divided into 15 components, each of the first 14 of which were with respect to 232,267 shares of the issuer's Class A common stock, and the last of which was with respect to 232,268 shares of the issuer's Class A common stock, and took place on each weekday between March 5th, 2024 and March 25th, 2024. Upon physical settlement, the reporting person received in the aggregate approximately $100 million from the bank. Following the sale, McMahon still owns 11.5 million shares of TKO Group. Following his assault of Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw, The Rock would upload a video showing that the beating continued despite the show being off the air. Here's the clip.
Clear, now you stay down. That.
Clear, guys.
That. You shut your mouth. Clear my ass. How did that feel? Did that feel good? What, just because the show's over, that doesn't mean that the shit stops. The Rock doesn't give a f***. Huh? You should cry. You should cry, boy. Look at that blood. Now, look at this blood. Ah! Yes. Yes. What? Show is over and then it stops? Your script? Ah, God! This is what happens, boy, when you fuck with the final. Come in here, cameraman! Look at that face. Look at that. Huh? Now, Mama Rose. Mama Rose. This is for you. That's for you. I'll see you at WrestleMania.
After his exit from AEW as a commentator, Kevin Kelly revealed what he will be up to next, writing on X. Starting in mid-April, I'll be teaching virtual classes for wrestlers who want to improve their promo abilities and announcers from all sports who want to take their broadcasting career to the next level. Email Kevin at talentacceleratorgroup.net, group and individual classes. Revealing how Roman Reigns felt during his absence during the COVID-19 pandemic, Paul Heyman told Uproxx he considered himself retired. He wasn't coming back. I was executive director of Monday Night Raw, and Roman was assigned to SmackDown. But every week, I heard all the SmackDown writers and producers and personnel saying, God, I just wish Roman would come back. And I would ask, has anybody talked to him? Yeah, he says he's retired. He's not coming back. No way. Thanks a lot. Done. Finished. Goodbye. So the fact that he came back for this run, for what we have accomplished, is nothing short of a miracle, because as far as he was concerned, he was out. Touching on a possible special entrance for herself at WrestleMania 40, Becky Lynch said this to Armand Sadly at Stay Busy. It feels poetic in that the book is coming out. I will have a book-style entrance, which I'm very excited about, and it's the story of my life, and I feel like this is the culmination of it. Somehow, despite all I have done in the industry, and despite being the backbone of the women's division for the last year and being a catalyst for change, somehow I am still overlooked and looked at as the underdog. This is where I thrive. This is where people doubt me and don't think I can do. It's proving people wrong. Hinting at a new entrance theme for WrestleMania 40, AJ Styles said this during a Fanatics Live signing. You will be surprised come WrestleMania when it comes to music. Not to let the cat out of the bag, it's big because my music is freaking awesome. But it doesn't suit the AJ Styles people are seeing at this moment. When it comes to former WWE star Nic Nemeth not signing with AEW, Ringside News wrote that while speaking to Keeping It 100 with Conan, Nemeth discussed his choice to join TNA and why he didn't go to AEW. Regarding talks with AEW, Nemeth acknowledged some discussions in the past. However, he emphasized his commitment to a plan he had been meticulously crafting for the past year and a half. He expressed gratitude for the interest shown by several companies, but remained resolute in pursuing his own path. In the past, some talks, but I had a plan that I've been working on for probably the last year and a half. I didn't want to go anywhere. I appreciate that several companies reached out immediately. Nemeth revealed that Scott D'Amore of Impact Wrestling was persistent in his efforts to recruit him, citing the strength of the locker room. Despite the tempting offers, Nemeth remained steadfast in his desire to maintain flexibility. He opted for short-term commitment, preferring to freelance and work as a hire talent rather than tying himself down to long-term contracts. Referencing his long tenure in the wrestling industry, Nemeth highlighted his recent transition from a lengthy relationship of 19 years. He asserted his reluctance to commit to contractual obligations that would restrict his freedom. Instead, he expressed a preference for maintaining his independence and representing various companies as a brand ambassador without being bound by exclusivity agreements. I said I have this one plan. I want to do this on my own, and even so, Scott D'Amore was so insistent because the locker room was so strong, and somebody in the locker room of TNA reached out, and I go, man, you guys are really making this hard. I said, let's do some dates. I'm not going to sign for 3 years, but I said I just want to bounce around and be a hired gun. I'll go with anybody and do anything. I said I just got out of a long-term relationship, 19 years. I don't want to sign a paper that says you can't do this. I can still represent companies. I am a great brand ambassador. I just don't want to be locked in. I did it for too long. I stayed a couple extra years to get the good money. Nemeth indicated that he had deliberately timed his career move, ensuring he was mentally and physically prepared for the next phase. Despite any criticisms from fans on social media, he affirmed his satisfaction with his plan's execution and his intention to continue freelancing for at least a year, possibly longer. Now I'm rested up. I'm in the best shape of my life mentally and physically. I think I timed it out perfectly. No matter what any fans tell me on Twitter, I did my plan exactly how I want to do it, and I want to bounce around. I thought I was going to bounce around for 6 months and then look around. I think I'm going to do a year, maybe longer, and then settle down somewhere. So far, Japan has treated me so well. That locker room is awesome. Speaking about his upcoming WrestleMania 40 match against AJ Styles, LA Knight told the Miami Herald, man, it's big. I mean, especially if you just look in the last year where things were and where things have come. It's a pretty crazy turn of events to consider everything in that context, said Knight. So to look at the fact that it's me and AJ one-on-one at the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania, that's a big one. That big round number, that 40, and here we are in Philadelphia, only a couple hours up from where I'm from originally, Maryland. That's pretty wild. And have friends and family and everybody's gonna be there in attendance to see everything. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really have a much better scenario. Some people would say that this took a long time. I'd be the first to say this took way too long, but in the same token, in a weird way, it's right on time. Man, look, I don't want to throw those kinds of predictions out there. You never know. I don't want to promise anything like that, but AJ is a stud. I'm a stud. There's a lot of tension going into this match. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of energy going into this match. So for damn sure, it could be, as the kids say, a banger. Will it be a show stealer? I don't know. Maybe we'll let history decide that one, but you can bet your ass it's gonna be good. Going over Drew McIntyre's WWE status, Ringside News wrote that, despite imitations from McIntyre that a new WWE contract has not been finalized, sources within WWE are operating under the assumption that an agreement will be reached. It's been suggested that McIntyre's next move will heavily consider his familial commitments as a significant factor in his decision-making process. Observing McIntyre's actions, it's evident that he hasn't been in a hurry to seal a new deal. Dave Meltzer, speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, shed light on McIntyre's mindset months ago when he expressed a desire to explore his current character before committing to a contract extension. Meltzer elaborated, I was checking with people, and it's like, look, the belief is that he knows what the situation is, and, He's already promoting feuds for the summer and the fall. I don't think he's planning on going anywhere," Meltzer continued. "And the thing with him, with the contract, I mean, the thing that he was rushing for months ago when, it was the contract was running out and he wasn't in a rush to sign was, number one, he thought that he wanted to do this new character. And if the new character didn't work out in the booking and the booking wasn't strong and everything like that, the idea was maybe go back and spend time with the family and take time off." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.